You're listening to Two Girls, One Crossword.
Feels kind of like old times.
Old
actually.
times, yes. Like 2 years ago time?
Pre-COVID
Almost.
times when we
Pre-COVID
would
times.
record before work. What time would we get there?
I think we used to get there at like 7:30
Oh my god.
to like give us time to make tea and coffee and to scuttle our butts down to the VO room and carry the second chair in. Set it
second
up.
stool.
Because we'd always have to like set it up because somebody had previously used it the day before or something. I was thinking about how we're hopping on this morning because we're recording this morning at 7:45, and I was like, that's a little late for us.
Yeah.
But it is. These are different times. This is not pre-COVID. This is mid-COVID. Amidst COVID.
Correct.
So
yes.
things change.
Things have changed. Yes, Chelsea very graciously agreed to record early this morning because I couldn't record tonight. So
It's true. I am in fact very gracious.
shout out to Cheese. Yes, if we have morning voices, that is why. Also, another quick note. My cat usually yells at the birds in the morning. So if you hear little meows in the background, that's just Arnold doing his job. There's no way for me to stop him. So I'm just going to ignore it if it happens.
Yes, well, we like to hear Arnold sometimes in the podcast.
Yeah,
We like to know that he's there. He's thinking of us. He's around.
It's a pretty cute noise too. So
Very cute.
anyways, you are listening to the very special morning episode
Whoa.
of Two Girls, One Crossword. We're the Good Evening Girls. I'm Grace Topinka.
And I'm Chelsea Rowan. It's good to be back in the morning. It actually feels nice to be awake right now. I hate being awake this early usually, but I'm here in good company. So,
True. We should have a Zoom meeting every morning at 7:45.
all right, I'll meet you here.
Our juices up and flowing. We don't even have to record all the episodes. We'll just meet every morning with a new topic. And
Exactly. And we'll talk about those juices you just mentioned, the ones we need to get flowing. We need to get them raring.
I actually
Anyway, can you
have a
tell
roll
it's
of paper
morning?
towels next to me just in case.
Are we on better in the morning or are we just delirious? That's a good question.
I guess our listeners will have to tell us.
Can you tell the difference between when we record at night and when we record in the morning? That's
feel
our
like-
question for you.
They could definitely tell in our voices.
Yes.
So anyway, should we get into Polapalooza?
So I haven't quite cleared my voice just yet. Yes, let's get into Polapalooza.
We asked our Twitter followers, if you want to follow us on Twitter, we're at the Good Evening Girls. We asked, how often do you wear SPF based on Chelsea's episode last week?
Ooh.
And options were every day, only when I'm outside, and never. And it was close, but I'm happy to say the winner with 38% was every day. So
Yes.
we are proud of you.
Yes, but what were the percentages of the other two?
So 38% won, and then the other two were tied at 31%. So kind of close. Yeah, only
We're
when I'm
about-
outside, and never. Some people said they never wear sunscreen.
I'm just going to round everybody to a third, okay? So a third of the voters wear sunscreen every day. Bravo to you. You get a special little star. And everybody else needs to listen to the last episode.
Yeah.
I say that with love. This is like me being a nagging, not to like fill the nagging mother trope, but I will wear that hat for this specific instance.
Well,
So-
maybe some of the people who never wear it, maybe they live in like an underground bunker and they never go outside.
Oh, that's true. I may have jumped to conclusions.
You're
then.
assuming.
I am.
that
You
they
know what
live above
assuming
ground.
does.
Yeah.
So, sorry. But if you don't live in an underground bunker, please wear sunscreen. I'd rather you wear sunscreen even if you just went outside rather than if you didn't wear it like just in the house and outside. You know what I mean? Just
Agreed. Yeah.
some sunscreen is better than none sunscreen. That's my life motto.
That's what's written on her dermatology certificate.
Thank you.
What is it? Degree.
No. I only have the certificate.
Right. It's Chelsea's Skin Lab. Run out of the storage room in her apartment building.
Don't tempt me with a good time. Sounds like a lot of fun if you ask me. Just like to be like a consultant with absolutely zero knowledge, to have people like step into a room and like me give them like actually it's solicited advice, but not educated solicited advice. just like stuff.
Only about sunscreen, you'd be like, yep, you gotta wear sunscreen. I do know there's skin issues.
I am taking
protection.
Appointments, so just send me a DM on Twitter. Thanks.
For a cool $100 per
That's it.
15-minute appointment.
Yeah, that's it. It's actually pretty inexpensive for derm appointments, so
Yeah, find her on Twitter.
Find me on Twitter. All right, what a good poll. I actually really liked this poll, and I think I'm going to retweet it again and encourage folks to listen to the last episode.
Well, okay, yeah, you can't vote in it anymore. Voting's been closed, but you can still retweet it and shame people.
Yes, which I tend to be more of the shamer on this podcast than Grace. She has to keep me in check.
Good cop, bad cop. We each fill a role.
Speaking of roles, should we roll over to our hits and shits?
Yeah. Great idea.
Thank you. I want to kick us off with the Friday, September 24th New York Times by Stella Zaltowski. I feel like I haven't seen a Stella puzzle in the New York Times in a long time. And I don't know if it's just because I've been paying attention, but I love Stella's puzzles. They're always really fun, but they're always so hard. They're always on like a Friday or a Saturday. And they push the limit of what my brain can handle. I've noticed that Stella does a lot of, she's into cryptic crosswords. She posts about them on Twitter a lot. I don't know if she's been doing that more recently, but because she's been into cryptic crosswords, I feel like that interest kind of spills into her cluing a little bit. Like her wordplay in her puzzles is really good.
Yeah.
So if you don't know what cryptic crosswords are, I'm not even going to try to explain it. You can Google it.
They're really difficult crosswords that we can't do.
Yes, extremely difficult. And it's all based on intense wordplay like on steroids. Stella's really into them. And so seeing her puzzle come up on a Friday, Matt wanted to do like an easier puzzle that day. And I was like, no, we're doing Stella's puzzle. And it's going to be really hard. But we did a very good job on it and had a lot of fun. The opener was really interesting. I was surprised to see an opener like this. One across, what's not to like, question mark. And the answer was bête noire. And it's like a French phrase for an opener on a Friday, which I guess isn't unexpected, but I was just kind of surprised. And I had to Google what this was. Usually I don't have to Google the opener of a puzzle, but a bête noire is a person or thing that one particularly dislikes. Okay.
We should be using that more.
We
I
should
need a
be using-
notebook to put these things in. 'Cause I always say that. And I
Paper.
forget.
We need paper. And a pen. Yes, we really do. Another really good one. 17 across. Black hairstyle with square-shaped sections, and the answer was box braids. You love to see box braids in a crossword.
Yes.
30 across. Blank possible. 2000s animated series. Kim Possible, of course.
Oh.
Duh, Grace. I know it's early, but
I haven't thought about Kim Possible yet this morning, so that's fine.
it's true. Okay, here's your first instance. Then we got 35 across. Quadrennial bonus. Leap day.
Oh, I was confused by quadrennial.
I know, it was nice.
Quadrennial?
Quadrennial bonus, leap day. And then if you're interested in learning about leap day, I had a difficult time figuring out which episode this was in, which episode I covered leap day in, because we didn't add it to our master list of topics just yet. So I had to go back. No, not yet. And I had to go back.
Old enough.
I thought so too, but I couldn't find it. And maybe it was just written differently.
Yeah.
Or something. Maybe it's not in as leap day. I don't know. Either way, so I had to read the topic descriptions. And, we've talked about the vague topic descriptions in the past. It's always fun to go back and read them. But in close succession, we had daylight saving and leap day. And so it's either of those episodes. And I can't figure out which one it is. And I think if you're interested in leap day, you want to listen to episode 86, As the World Turns. I think that's the one.
That one's definitely about soap operas.
Yeah.
Is my topic.
Yes. And As the World Turns is like a play on like the fact that time is a thing with the world turning, which works for daylight savings and leap year. So
yeah.
Anyway, it's quite interesting, actually. What else did I like from that puzzle? I liked this one, 7 down, lessons for advanced language learners. And the answer was idioms.
Yes.
I think you talked a little bit about this in translation when you gave me Spanish, or was it Cuban, or was it just...
No, it was just Spanish.
Spanish idioms, and I had to guess what they meant.
Yeah.
And, you know, the direct translations don't often make sense, but then Grace would explain them to me. And that's like an early topic if you're interested in translation. That might be even be in the top 5. I can't remember.
Yeah, that was a long time. We were different people back then.
We were. And then I really liked, I learned something new in this puzzle, 47 down, Sicilian word that roughly translates to swagger.
What?
Sicilian word. So it took me ages to get this, and I had letters filled in, and I still couldn't figure it out. And the answer was mafia, and it just seemed so obvious once I filled it in.
Yeah, and that's your topic.
And I did a topic on the mafia too. Anyway, Stella's showing up. She's good at puzzles, and I thought this was a good one.
That puzzle does sound fun. I'm sad that I didn't do it. Sometimes I don't do the ones that are like the super challenging puzzles on New Yorker, because I'm just like, I can't do that.
Oh, this was New York Times.
Oh, it was New York Times.
Yes, but I also sometimes struggle with the New Yorker ones on Monday. It really is on a constructor by constructor basis. So if I see like a certain constructor doing a Monday, I'm like, okay, I'll give it a shot. But if it's somebody else, I'm like, I'm not even going to try, because I know that this is going to be 2 hours of my time just struggling over. Well,
next time
puzzle.
I see Stella's name late in the week, I won't get scared and I'll do it.
Do it. I think we filled in 99% of this puzzle before we ended up having to check it, because I don't think we could get the mafia corner. And then, anyway. So I felt really proud of myself on a Friday to like get like 30 minutes in, most of the puzzles finished, and being like stuck in one area. That's called growth. Okay.
We shouldn't tell anyone that it takes us 30 minutes to do it.
I feel like I'm like soft balling this, you know, I'm just like putting it in gently in like
it's not a
episodes
race,
here and there.
We do what we can, and sometimes we're doing other stuff. We're doing a puzzle, then we're, you know, eating popcorn. It's like we're not hyper focused on the puzzle.
We're not.
And sometimes it takes us a little bit, and that's okay.
I know. But for me, 30 minutes on a Friday, Stella puzzle is incredible.
Yeah.
So do with that what you will. Haze me. I don't care anymore. This is who I am.
Speaking of puzzles that can sometimes take a long time, I did the Sunday Washington Post by Evan Bernholz 1-2 combo.
Oh, I didn't do this one.
Was cool. You did?
I didn't.
Or you didn't?
Correct.
It was cool because the puzzle was really long.
Oh, like I wanted to do this one. He just turned like 38 or something, and I think that's why.
That's why they did it? Well,
I think so. Or he just had a birthday and he like based it off how old he was. Anyway, I saw a Facebook post.
Oh, maybe. You think there's 38 things across?
Yeah.
Well, there's one clue that went all the way across the entire puzzle. And the clue for it was term in a 1964 film that if you say it loud enough, you'll always sound precocious.
Oh, what is it?
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Which luckily I know how to spell.
Amazing.
I know the song. SUPERCALIFRJLISGACXPIALIDOCIAUS. I get a little messed up at the end, but
that is amazing. I love him. His puzzles are so fun.
Well, he had a lot of long clues in this, and some of them were really fun, but the cool thing was like the theme, it was 1-2 combo was the name of the puzzle. I don't have the themed clue, but it was basically like a boxer name that's like doubled in all the starred clue. So it was Ali. And every clue had Ali in it twice. So there's Ali twice in supercalifragilistic. Oh, it's in fragile too. But some other long answers that have Ali in them twice were 34 cross, orthodontic devices similar to clear correct straightening products, Invisalign aligner.
Oh.
I love this one. 106 across, Frankenstein line ranked as number 49 on AFI's 100 Years, 100 Movie Quotes list. It's alive. It's alive.
Amazing.
And then some other answers were Malibu, California, Galileo Galilei. So yeah, that was fun. But some other clues that I liked in that puzzle that didn't have to do with the theme were 15 down, pies in a pie fight. It was ammo. I just liked that because it's like not a violent way to clue ammo. I
agree. I love when they take words that could be crosswordese like ammo, but it has like a violent connotation, and then they kind of give it something silly. Like I've seen ammo be clued with like snowballs, for example, and then the answer was ammo. Like amazing.
Yes. 24 down, I learned something new. Music festival that's Creole slang for a really good time. Bonnaroo.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I guess in French, I mean, bon is like really, and then I don't know what a roux is. I'm a good time, I'm assuming, but then you make it into Creole.
Very good.
I don't know. 64 down, perform excellently. Is kick butt.
Nice.
I love this one. 76 down, date around ? And the answer was circa.
Yo, that's good. I was trying to think what the trick is for that one, but that I wouldn't have gotten there without like other answer or other letters filled in.
I needed other letters filled in for that one. And then this one, 108 down, Cats fan, presumably. And the answer is vet, but it's Cats, Cats with an apostrophe after the S. So is he talking about Cats the musical? I think he is. Right? Or no, I guess it's like all. Anyways, in my mind, he's talking about Cats the musical because it's.
Well, isn't if you're.
Yeah, I guess it is possessive if you're talking about all cats in general.
Right.
But I feel like it would have been like fan of cats.
No, I am with you.
Or it's
both.
Both. It's like
it's both.
That's the
That's
joke.
the trick. Okay. Yeah. No, it's both. And I think we've seen in Evan's puzzles many cats themed. Cats the musical themed.
I feel like they're
clues and
gaslighting us.
They're gaslighting us, actually. Yeah.
Every time I see a Cats clue, I'm like, okay.
I think Evan does an incredible job with the puzzles every week. Like I'm actually shocked every time I do one of his puzzles, like how good it is. He's the only one doing them. And the themes are so unique and creative, every single one. And we're not alone in thinking this. I think the whole crossword community is amazed by Evan. But if you're not doing the Sunday WAPO, it's free online. And Evan does a kick-ass job. It's so fun.
Yes, I always enjoy them. It's my favorite weekend puzzle.
It's good for like a morning. You're like drinking your coffee. You got your eggs. Your dog's begging for your food.
You have your iPad out.
It all goes together. It's a feeling. It feels like Evan's with you at the brunch table.
Well, I have that cut out of him.
You do.
Life size. So he really is with me at my brunch table.
Oh, very good. Very good. I did the Saturday, September 25th New York Times by Adam Simone Levine. I learned something really interesting. And also, so 33 across was one of the 15-letter spanners, so like all the way across the puzzle. Site of the impact of the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs 66 million years ago. And I was like, we know where that happened? I'm like, it put me down a rabbit hole of like, they know where these asteroids hit, and then they do. Like, there's Wikipedia articles dedicated to like all of the ancient asteroids that have hit Earth, and like how they are able to like know that they're there, which I think is just
sense, I guess
it could absolutely make sense. But to me at the time, I was like amazed, you know.
Yes.
Anyway, so
where is it?
It is in. It's
Port St. Lucie.
It's in, you know, I don't know, Illinois. No, this is how you pronounce it. Chicxulub crater is what it's called. Chicxulub crater, and it is in the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico.
Oh,
okay.
Interesting.
Just reading you really quickly from Wikipedia, just some interesting facts about this. This crater was formed when a large asteroid about 6.2 miles in diameter struck the Earth. That's insane to me, and also just nightmare fuel. The date of the impact was slightly more than 66 million years ago, and it's widely accepted that this is the cause of climate disruption and the cause of the Cretaceous Paleogene extinction event, a mass extinction in which 75% of plant and animal species on Earth became extinct, including all non-avian dinosaurs. So like the Big Bang thing where like all the dinosaurs died, this asteroid. The crater is estimated to be 93 miles in diameter and 12 miles deep. And it is the second largest confirmed impact structure on Earth. And I believe the first is somewhere in South Africa. But the thing is that's cool about this place is that the crater is still there, whereas the other one in South Africa, it's basically over time it's gone. Like you can see from space like formations that were caused created from the one in South Africa, but the crater itself is not there. But the crater of Chicxulub is still there.
It's still there.
In Mexico. So
Let's go, baby.
how cool is that?
Your passport's renewed?
Yes.
All right, then let's do it.
Another thing I learned, I feel like we just missed this as information that would be in like our lexicon, but fit 5 down, campaign catchphrase of 1988. And the answer was no new taxes. The full campaign slogan was read my lips, no new taxes. And it was spoken by George H.W. Bush, dad to Mr. Bush that we had as president when we were younger. And it was spoken at the 1988 Republican National Convention. And that had been apparently what he was like basing his whole like campaign on. But he lost the presidency to Clinton. And people think it was because this was his slogan and he could not, in fact, stop new taxes from happening while he was president. Anyway,
Is that the basis of what inspired No New Friends? The phrase no new friends?
I think you're going to have to do a deep dive on that for us.
Maybe. I only have one more that I just wanted to laugh about because my topic's kind of long today, but the Sunday New York Times on September 26th, it's called Study Breaks by Priyanka Sethi and Matthew Stock. They did something that I love to see, which is when they reference an actor's like least, well, actually, this is a big movie, but 125 across, Spy Kids actress Hatcher. Terry Hatcher.
I love to see that too. When I saw that, I laughed. I chuckled. Spy Kids was
Spy Kids is a good movie though.
A good movie. It was a cultural reset. For
our generation, yes.
For our generation, if I would be so bold, and I will. I want to end on a shit, and then we can
do it.
Go into our topics.
Yeah.
The Monday, September 17th, New Yorker by Cameron Austin Collins. I actually liked this puzzle a lot, but I have a bone to pick about 13 across, mainly because, like, if I'm wrong, someone needs to let me know. They really do. I would do a corrections corner on this, but shot as by a cinematographer. And the answer for the puzzle was lensed, spelled Lensed, lensed, as if lensed and shot are synonyms. Right. And like lensed could be a verb, but shot as by a cinematographer. I've worked in film. I still work in the industry. My boyfriend works in the industry. I kid you not. Nobody says that was lensed by a cinematographer. Nobody says that. I'm sorry. And it's just so clues are really, informative to what you fill in as answers. And that was like one of the last things I would have ever thought. In fact, I did not even think it. It was filled in for me because I was so shocked that filmed wasn't the answer. Like the synonym for shot was being filmed. You say like it was filmed by, so-and-so deacons or whatever, different types of whatever. Anyway, so that is not something I've ever heard used, but maybe I've been out of the game for too long. I haven't been on set in like 5 years, but maybe I do work in the industry. Thing. It could be a regional thing.
Maybe that's what they say like in Texas.
Cameron, are you from Texas? This is strange to me. I also saw 62 across in this puzzle. Blank fic, romantic reimaginings of fictional characters.
Fanfic?
Slash fic. I was shocked to see slash fic. Yes, which is
that
like
what it's called when it's sexy?
Well, when it's two guys and sexy. So like Harry and Draco fan fiction is called slash fic. So I was like, slash? I can't imagine slash would be in this puzzle. Well, boy, was I wrong. Slash fic made an appearance. So, all good things on this puzzle. But if I am wrong about lens, let me know. I don't think I'm wrong though.
Write her a personal letter. I'll have her address in the details of this episode.
Yes. All right, my friends. Does that mean it's time for us to flip the coin?
Do it. Ring my bell.
Ring my... All right, I'm flipping the coin now. Tails. We're back to Grace, baby.
Back to me. I was like getting my stuff pulled up, thinking that this could be me. I just had a feeling, And sometimes you have to go with your gut.
Trust your gut.
My topic comes from the Sunday New York Times by Priyanka Sethi and Matthew Stock from September 26. 12 down, event with a crowning moment.
Oh, what was this? I can't remember.
Pageant.
Pageant. Oh my God, someone's doing pageants. I was wondering when we would get to do a topic like this.
Yes, I'm doing beauty pageants now. There's a lot of different pageants in the world, but I'm focusing mostly on Miss USA, Miss America type stuff.
Oh, okay. Have you known anybody in any of those types of pageants? I've known somebody that won like Miss Connecticut. It's weird.
No, I didn't even know anyone who competed in like as kids, as teenagers. It wasn't big where I was growing up. Did people do that by you?
I mean, I met them like in college and then like as an adult, like somebody I worked with when I worked at the admissions office at my undergrad university, that was my undergrad job. She was in pageants. And then somebody that acted in one of the films that I directed, she took on a dare and was like, yeah, fuck it, I'm going to try and get into Miss Illinois. And she did. She got into the pageant and like, whatever. She was like, it's bonkers. But
I would do it ironically, but you have to, normally there's an age cutoff at 25. Anyways, on to my topic. I have a little intro here. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? Fairest was actually an answer in the New Yorker's 917 puzzle by Patrick Barry for 36 down, like Aphrodite, according to the judgment of Paris. And the answer was fairest. And the judgment of Paris may be the first example of a beauty pageant that we have. So all of this information is from pbs.org, Beauty Pageant Origins and Culture. According to Greek legend, a poor mortal goatherd Paris was called upon to settle dispute among the goddesses. Who was the most beautiful, Hera, Aphrodite, or Venus? Hera promised the kingdom over all men. Athena promised... Venus promised victory in war, and Aphrodite offered the hand of Helen, who was the most beautiful mortal woman. Paris chose Helen and inadvertently started the Trojan War.
Whoopsie daisy.
But other than this story, there is no historical proof that Greeks held regular competitions for the beauty of women. There were contests of physiques called euandria, but these were for men. So,
yeah, the Greeks like to be naked too, and like slather with oil and stuff. It was like a thing. It was like their vibe.
Hey, I mean, they must have been tan. I don't know if they had SPF back then.
Wear your sunscreen, folks.
Instead, the most direct start for beauty pageants probably comes from May Day celebrations in England, where women would be selected as the queen at these celebrations. This tradition carried over into the US, where beautiful young women would serve as symbols of bounty and community ideals. When George Washington rode from Mount Vernon to New York City in 1789 to, assume the presidency, groups of young women dressed in white lined his route, placing palm branches before his carriage.
That's like very like Jesus kind of, right?
Well,
with palm branches. Maybe I know nothing about religion. It just gave me very much Palm Sunday vibes.
Yeah. I mean, maybe a little bit in like, well, I don't know. I don't want to.
It's off topic. Sorry. Okay.
But the first modern beauty contest in which women presented themselves to be judged was started by none other than Phineas T. Barnum of Barnum and Bailey Circus.
The one and only.
So in the 1850s, Barnum owned a dime museum in New York City, and some of his most popular attractions were contests where dogs, chickens, flowers, and children were displayed and judged for paying audiences.
Oh my God.
And while the children and baby judging contests were extremely popular, like everyone was trying to get their babies in these contests, the Handsomest Ladies event didn't get like a huge influx of competitors. The prize, if you won this beauty competition, if you were single, you would get a diamond tiara. Or sorry, if you were single, you would get a dowry. If you were married, you'd get a diamond tiara. So that's kind of where that started.
The dowry, that's a nice gift. God,
I guess.
Especially back in the day, like women needed reasons to be marriageable to men, and money was the thing.
If Barnum and his friends thought you were the prettiest one, then you'd get a dowry. But respectable Victorian women didn't think this was good enough to, put themselves on display for the public. It wasn't worth it for them. So Barnum switched things up. He allowed the pageant entries to be done by photograph alone, and he said that the pictures would be displayed in his museum and the public would vote for them. The top 10 finalists would receive specially commissioned oil portraits of themselves, and these portraits would be reproduced in a fine arts book to be published in France entitled The World's Book of Female Beauty.
Okay, and that is definitely how you get the bougie people involved. Like you're like, we're gonna make an art book. You're gonna get the specialty piece of like oil painting. Like that is definitely what the Victorians were probably like. Oh, actually, let me reconsider.
It worked. He got like 40,000 entries, but according to this article, he closed the museum down before the competition ended. So like no one knows who won. I don't think the book exists.
Thanks.
But either way, he pioneered a new way to judge beauty. So in the next decades, picture photo contests became very popular. So much so that civic leaders across the country would have newspaper contests to choose women that represented the spirit of their cities through like submitting photos to the newspaper.
Okay.
And supposedly they did this as a way to boost citizen morale, incorporate newcomers, and attract new settlers and business to the community. So basically they were just using like hot young women
To market.
Yeah. One of the earliest known resort beauty pageants, because that's like where a lot of beauty pageants are held, was in 1880 at the Rehoboth Beach in Delaware. And by the early 1900s, it became common for beach resorts to hold regular beauty pageants. So that was a thing. But now we're going to get into the big one. So in 1929, Atlantic City staged the first ever Miss America pageant in September. Wow. And they did this because they wanted a way to keep tourists there after Labor Day. And even today, like Miss USA, Miss America is all in the fall. So once again, everything is about making money.
Yes.
But before we go further, let's talk about Miss USA, Miss America, because it gets complicated. So
Okay.
Miss America is the OG pageant. That's when this started in Atlantic City.
Okay.
Miss USA is like slightly newer, but not by much. Miss USA is owned by the same company who does Miss Universe. So you have to win Miss USA to compete in Miss Universe. And Universe is international. So the two U's are together.
Okay.
Miss World is another international pageant, but it's based in the UK. And you have to win a national pageant to compete in Miss World.
Okay. Okay. And Miss America does not qualify for any of those?
I think if you win Miss America, you could compete in Miss World, but not Miss Universe. And I don't think there's like an official hierarchy, but it seemed like Miss Universe was like the
one.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. But back to Atlantic City and Miss America. So Atlantic City's combo of glam and fun made it the perfect place to host Miss America. It was a hot spot of the East Coast at the time, and it became even more popular during the Great Depression thanks to what board game?
Oh, Monopoly.
Correct.
Yes.
And even though Atlantic City has, fallen a little bit from grace thanks to air travel and places like Miami and the Caribbean existing, the Miss America pageant has stayed put since its debut in 1921.
Yeah. Atlantic City was a big hot spot for a while. Not so much anymore.
Yeah. I've never been, but I would go, ironically.
You and I would have so much fun in Atlantic City. I went there for a spring break once. It was raining and snowing the whole time. It was amazing. My God. It's the exact vibe.
I think we would. And I think we also would have fun in Vegas. Ironically, of course.
I know. Oh my God. Okay.
We'll talk. So let's talk about the first Miss America pageant. It was inspired by those newspaper photo beauty contests. Atlantic City organizers asked papers as far east as Pittsburgh and south as DC to sponsor local beauty contests, and the winners would come to Atlantic City to compete there. The local newspaper would pay for the winner's wardrobe, and the Atlantic City Businessmen's League would pay for the contestants to travel to compete in beauty contests. So kind of gross, Businessmen's League. A local Atlantic City newspaperman, Herb Test, enthusiastically proclaimed, quote, "and we'll call her Miss America." So that's kind of how it officially got its name. In the end, there were only 8 contestants from DC, Pittsburgh, Harrisburg, Ocean City, Camden, Newark, New York, and Philadelphia. But there was a crowd of 100,000 people, and it was very nautical themed. The initial title of the winner was Golden Mermaid, and the winning prize was $100. Now we're going to get into some dicey stuff. The competition was kicked off by the arrival of a man dressed up as King Neptune. He was surrounded by the Frolic of Neptune, which included 20 beautiful women and 20 male black enslaved people. Actors pretending to be enslaved people.
God, okay.
Yeah. The winner was chosen by an equal combination of judging and audience applause. The first winner was 16-year-old Margaret Gorman from Washington, D.C. And audience applause was a huge part of Miss America for a long time before it changed to just judging. They crowned her and they wrapped her in an American flag and paraded her around. Samuel Gompers, the president of the American Federation of Labor, was quoted in the New York Times as saying, quote, "She represents the type of womanhood America needs, strong, red-blooded, able to shoulder the responsibilities of homemaking and motherhood. It is in her type that the hope of the country rests."
16 years old.
We hate that, yes. Over the next 6 years, the competition grew and grew, and the number of contestants rose to 83. But some conservatives were upset about this because they didn't like that women were... It's so funny how things have switched. They didn't like how women were parading themselves around in the public, so the organizers constantly emphasized that the contestants were natural and unsophisticated, stressing their youth and wholesomeness. They also maintained that the women did not wear makeup or bob up their hair.
Okay.
By the 1920s and 30s, beauty contests were everywhere. It also helped that this was the era of the cosmetic industry taking off. Beauty contests were even held in high schools. The reasoning behind this was supposedly to make students more interested in personal care. Only the women, of course.
Of course.
In these competitions, PE teachers rated girls' skin, hair, muscle tone, and general appearance, among other criteria. Sorry, not for the women, girls, because these were children. In more rural areas, women were judged based on their health and rural virtue. According to the 1926 Des Moines Register, the winner of the State Fair beauty pageant used no powder or rouge, cared nothing for boys and dates, did not dance, and rarely went to the movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
A
little weird, but let's talk about even more problematic stuff.
Please, I would love to.
Got
my coffee.
Yeah. Get ready. This is from an article on rack.com called A Look Back at the Sexist Racist History of Beauty Pageants by Elizabeth King. Until 1940, Miss America required all women to be, quote, of good health and of white race. Until 1940, that changed. But even until the late 1960s, no black women had ever competed.
Wow.
In response to this racism, in 1968, Miss Black America was held the same day as the Miss America contest in Atlantic City as well.
Good for them.
That same year, feminists, this article, I didn't write it, but she quoted so black women could get equally, objectified. But it's complicated. Okay. That same year, feminist groups started protesting the competition, marching with signs that said stuff like, "If you want meat, go to the butcher. Welcome to the Miss America cattle auction." This was the event that launched the infamous burning of bras, bringing the young women's liberation movement into the spotlight.
Yes.
In 1970, the first black woman won a state-level competition. Cheryl Brown was crowned Miss Iowa. But Miss America didn't have their first black winner until 1984, when Vanessa Williams, aka Miss New York, was crowned. However, Penthouse magazine printed unauthorized photos of Williams, and the pageant forced her to give up her title.
Oh.
The growing criticisms of pageants have mirrored the decline of pageant popularity as well. The 2015 Miss America pageant only had 7.1 million viewers compared to 8.6 the year before and 27 million during the first broadcast in 1954.
Wow.
But what about the rest of the world and the other pageants? So, Miss America winner Yolanda Betbys, she refused to wear one of a bathing suit from one of their sponsors after she had won. She didn't want to wear it in public and parade it around after she was crowned. So Catalina Swimwear, which was one of the sponsors to Miss America, pulled out as a sponsor, and they founded Miss USA and Miss Universe. So that's how that all started.
Wow. Okay.
And then in 1951, Miss World was created in the UK.
Okay.
So these types of pageants spread to the rest of the world and brought together competitors from all different countries, for better or for worse. In 1996, Miss World had a contest held in Bangalore, India, and it was met with protests. Their message was not only that women were degraded, but also that the Miss World pageant threatened Indian culture with its importation of Western values. This is a common theme against international pageants, that they focus on Western standards of beauty and are used to showcase Western products. The 1996 Miss Italy pageant generated a national dialogue on race when Denny Mendez, a black Caribbean immigrant, was crowned Miss Italy. This sparked controversy among Italians on national identity and what it means to be Italian. It allowed commentators all over the country to discuss the issues of racial intolerance in Italy. But are the potential international relations and occasional prompts of race discussion enough to make up for its unapologetic racist history? I don't know. That's your choice to make. Currently, Miss America likes to call itself the world's largest provider of scholarships for women, saying that they give out $45 million in scholarships every year. But John Oliver did a whole expose on them, and his researchers found out that they only gave out $4 million in scholarships every year. And he also pointed out that Miss America doesn't offer scholarships to women worldwide, only to women who are eligible for and successful in their pageants. And there are huge barriers of entry into the pageant. First of all, it costs a lot of money to compete in pageants anyway,
Yes.
so to work your way up. As of the year 2000, contestants must swear that they're unmarried, not pregnant, and not the adoptive or biological parent of a child.
That's
and before
bonkers.
this, before 2000, you couldn't even have been divorced. Like, you couldn't be married, and you couldn't ever have been married if you wanted to compete.
Oh my God.
Some slight good news. Some things are changing. In 2018, Miss America took out the swimsuit competition, and they announced that they would no longer judge contestants based on their looks.
Thank God.
Gretchen Carlson, well, just wait. Gretchen Carlson was the former Miss America, and she's now the chair of the organization's board of trustees, said, quote, "We are no longer a pageant. We are a competition. We will no longer judge our candidates on their outward physical appearance. We're no longer judging women when they come out in their chosen attire, their evening wear. Whatever they choose to do, it's going to be what comes out of their mouth that we're interested in when they talk about their social impact initiatives." I want to remind you of, remember the girl they asked her about, like, having maps in schools or something?
Oh, yes, vaguely.
Yeah. And she was like, such as in America and Afghanistan. Maybe I'll post a link to that. But yeah, don't feel too great about this. It should be noted that as of 2018, and still even today, I believe, one of the competition rules is that you have to be, quote, a natural born woman to compete. I mean, a trans man could compete. Maybe. That's not so for Miss USA, which has allowed all women to compete since 2012, though that was also formerly owned by Donald Trump. So
do with that what you will.
Doesn't own
My
anymore.
God.
An article from Refinery29 called Miss America Scrapping the Swimsuit Competition Won't Make It More Inclusive by Ashley Elise Edwards, who is a former beauty pageant competitor, says, quote, "I can confidently say that Miss America's decision to get rid of the swimsuit competition isn't about creating an inclusive competition. It's about trying to correct a PR disaster and staying relevant." So basically there were all these email links where members of the board were fat shaming and slut shaming contestants, and then they changed all the stuff after. And I'm going to end with a quote from her article. Yeah. Quote, "The idea that walking around in a bikini is inherently degrading further plays into the notion that in order to be taken seriously, women must dress a certain way. If Miss America really wants to become an organization that empowers every woman, it would start by giving their contestants a choice. Wear a bikini, wear a one piece, wear active, wear what makes you feel beautiful. The organization would also actively recruit women of all body types and eliminate the natural born woman rule. Then it would support contestants and reward them in a competition that's judged on confidence, personality, and poise." So
wow.
I feel like there is, kind of whiplash from this. It's like, okay, hold on. They cut the competition. And then it's like, wait, no, but why do women can wear bathing suits? But it's like, but then they're wearing it to appeal to the male gaze. Then
Yes.
That's right.
Exactly. I think the quote you just read about choice is incredibly important, because what these competitions do from this very limited, little chat we're having, it seems like historically the competitions are about dictating to women what is and isn't acceptable in terms of the definition of womanhood or true womanhood, right?
Yeah.
These competitions, and they're founded by men. They probably have lots of men on their boards, etc., right? And so when they do things like remove the swimsuit competition or whatever, that is not giving the woman, the competitor, the choice herself. And to be a true feminist, it's about giving women the choice and the freedom to do as they see fit for their definition of womanhood, right? So no board of men and women, no competition should be telling you that in order to be a woman, you need to do the swimsuit competition. In order to be a woman, you need to not do the swimsuit competition. You know what I mean?
It should be a choice. Well, there was a lot of controversy about the swimsuit competition part, like back in the day. Like, conservatives didn't like it. When they first did Miss World, everyone had to wear the same bikini, and it was like too revealing. So then the next year, they all wore like this strapless one piece type thing. So it's like things have just changed so much. Like, okay, wait, what? Anyways, I don't know if it's beyond repair.
Right.
I know that, no shade to anyone who competes in these, like, it is, I know it's a lot of work to make it to the top.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
But I also wonder,
and,
like, honestly, what the payoff is. But money for education? Is that what it is?
Yeah, well, when you win, then you get to go on speaking engagements. And, now you are seeing, like, more diverse, and I say diverse only in race alone. Like, they're still beautiful models, skinny,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I guess, like, that could help some, I don't know. It's complicated.
No, it is complicated. It's extremely complicated. I've never been interested in being in a pageant.
No, I could never.
I could never. Ironically or otherwise.
I don't like any formality type stuff like pageantry. It's not my jam.
No. And I don't like the concept of being judged. Like, I'm worried every day that I'm being judged. Yeah. I don't want to, like, actively step into a situation where I am being judged. No. So, woof, that is complicated. I feel like you and I could have a longer conversation about this. If our listeners have any insight or opinions, just write to us on Twitter. I'd be curious to see what you have to say. I do want to say that I don't know a single Miss America winner, a single Miss World winner, a single Miss Universe winner, or a single Miss USA winner.
No.
I don't know what that means.
Know them other than that I looked them up. Oh, well, I do know that one where Steve Harvey accidentally said the wrong one.
Right.
That is, like, the best moment in reality TV history. He announced the second place winner as the winner. They had, like, the confetti. They crowned her. They gave her the flowers. Everyone was cheering for her. Then he comes out and he's like, actually, I said the wrong name. And they switched it to the other girl. Sucks for the girl who got second place.
I know. It's horrible.
That's amazing for the girl who, that's like, if you lose something, you, like, fantasize about, like, oh my gosh, what if it was wrong and they switch at the last minute? Same with when Moonlight won the Oscars. It's like, when does that ever happen? Like, it actually happened. They came out there like, actually, Moonlight won. I
know. Those, yeah. For us, hilarious. For the people experiencing those, I can't even imagine.
Well, all I have to say is, first of all, don't let these men read off these cards, because they're the ones who messed up for both. And you have to make it, like, very clear. They both, well, the Moonlight one, it actually wasn't their fault. They were given the wrong card, and it was, like, Emma winning for La La Land, so they saw the movie name on there, and it was confusing.
Right.
But
yeah. But still, anyway. Yeah.
Anyways, moving on. That was beauty pageants.
Thank you. That's very interesting.
Thank you. Your turn.
I guess it's my turn. My topic comes from the Monday, September 17th New Yorker by Cameron Austin Collins. 19 across. Valley, where the 3 Michelin-starred restaurant, the French Laundry, is located. And the answer is Napa. And so I realized that this clue and this answer, there's, like, 3 different things I could possibly be talking about here.
Yeah.
I will be talking about the Michelin Guide. Okay. But before I get into that, I'm going to do a very, very brief history on the French Laundry, because it kind of is sort of related to this idea of the Michelin Guide. Mm-hmm. So the French Laundry is a French restaurant in Napa Valley. The head chef is Thomas Keller. He's a famous celebrity chef now in the U.S. If you're a foodie or gourmand type, you know Thomas Keller, you know the French Laundry. Anyway, so to some folks, the French Laundry is one of those must-eat-here places. And as the clue suggests, it has 3 Michelin stars, which we will talk about in a minute. On the land where the restaurant currently sits, the first building was built in 1900s. It was a bar called the Eagle Saloon. It's a great name. The property then changed hands a couple times throughout history. In the 20s, it was bought by the Landis family. They established a laundry there. They called it the French Laundry. The first restaurant opened there in 1967, but it wasn't until 1994 that the famous chef Thomas Keller bought the building and opened his own restaurant. He named it the French Laundry as an homage to the previous tenants, right? The French Laundry serves classic French cuisine, and since 2007, the Michelin Guide has awarded the French Laundry their highest rating of 3 stars, making Chef Thomas Keller the only American-born chef to have 2 3-starred Michelin restaurants. His other restaurant that has 3 Michelin stars is Per Se in New York City. So that brings me to the Michelin Guide. What's the big deal with them and their little stars? Currently, the Michelin Guide is a series of guidebooks, literally books that are published and sold by the French tire company Michelin. Yes, this is the tire company, the one with the Michelin Man puffy guy mascot. And they've been publishing these guidebooks for over a century. The Michelin Guide can award restaurants up to 3 Michelin stars for excellence. And the acquisition or loss of a star can severely affect the business's success.
Sometimes they lose stars.
Yes.
They knock them down from a 3 to a 2.
Yes, it happens all the time. And it can be devastating. Yes. Okay, so where does it all begin? The guide wasn't always an iconic dining guide. It has much more humble roots. It all begins with André and Edouard Michelin, their brothers. They founded the Michelin Tire Company in 1888 in France. In 1900, there were less than 3,000 cars in the roads of France. So the brothers were like, what do? Like, we need people to buy our tires. And how do people buy tires from us? They need to buy cars. So we got to get people buying cars. Their marketing idea was to publish a guidebook for French motorists. And this book was called the Michelin Guide. In the first guide, there wasn't much of a focus on restaurants. A few were listed, but it was mostly establishments that were motorist friendly. So gas stations, mechanics, hotels, that kind of thing. It also had road maps, tutorials about how to change your Michelin tires, of course, and other useful information. The guide was relatively successful enough that the Michelin brothers began publishing similar guides for all of Europe, not just France, and even some North African nations as well. By this point, it became clear to the brothers that the restaurant listings were the most exciting part of the guide. That's why people were buying the guide, was to get the restaurant recommendations. And so Michelin decided to listen to their customers. They hired a team of inspectors to review restaurants for the purpose of featuring them in the guide. And these inspectors have always reviewed the restaurants anonymously, and they still do that to this day. So, in 1926, the Michelin Guide introduced the idea of starred ratings. Initially, if you're just listed as a restaurant in the guide, and now they introduced a star rating. So you could still just be listed in the guide with 0 stars, and it was still a recommendation, go to this restaurant. But a star meant hot cuisine, so fine dining. So that's how you could kind of distinguish, oh, this is just a regular nice restaurant, and this is fine dining.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until 1931 that the Michelin Guide introduced their famous 3-star hierarchy for restaurant listings. And this is the criteria for each star in 1931, and it's the exact same today. 1 star, a very good restaurant in its category. 2 stars, excellent cooking, worth a detour. 3 stars, exceptional cuisine, worth a special journey. And at the time, this rating was essentially to kind of to measure how valuable it was to travel out of your way with your car to go to certain restaurants. So was it worth your money to take your car in 1931 out of your way to go to this restaurant? It's a little bit more complicated now. This rating is exactly the same, truly exactly the same. It's more complicated now because 3-star restaurants now, worth a special journey is essentially for the jet setter elite, people that have their own private jets, they can take a special journey.
Airplane tires.
They really should make airplane tires. Let me know if they do. I'd be interested. Okay, so the first 3 Paris restaurants to receive 3 stars from the guide were Le Café du Paris, Le Tour d'Argent, and Le Peru. Another French restaurant to receive 3 stars in 1931 was Le Mère Brasier in Lyon. And the head chef of this restaurant was Eugénie Brasier, and she is considered one of the mothers of Lyonnaise cuisine. So she helped, popularize it and standardize it. She was the first woman to receive 3 Michelin stars. She started as a maid in a different restaurant. She worked her way up, opened her own business, got her 3 stars. And then in 1933, she opened a new restaurant and she got 3 more stars. So she became the first chef ever to have 6 Michelin stars, man or woman. And it's a big deal. I think the record for number of Michelin stars, I forget the chef's name, at one point it was 21 stars. So you can own a ton of restaurants and they all have different star levels. So 21 stars. And like we said, Thomas Keller, he is the only American-born chef to have 2 3-star restaurants. So Thomas Keller has 6 stars, same as Eugénie Brasier in 1933. Anyway, so 1955, the Michelin Guide introduces a new rating system that acknowledged restaurants serving high-quality fare that didn't break the bank. This is called the Bib Gourmand. It's basically, it highlights opportunities to go out to eat that are more economically friendly, and it
That's what I need.
The recommendations reflect like the society of that particular city. So you can use the Bib Gourmand in Chicago to find great restaurants. That's what I do. Anytime I'm looking for a new restaurant that I want to try, I go to the Bib Gourmand guide for Chicago and I find restaurants moderately priced, really, really good food, doesn't break the bank. And so you don't have to like dress up to go to these places most of the time, you know, but you're still getting a good meal. Let's see. The Michelin Guide didn't come to America until 2005. It was only in Europe and North Africa. And it was initially only reviewing restaurants in New York City. They have since expanded their borders and they review restaurants in many cities across the United States. But there are some locations in the US that the Michelin Guide is not. In between 2007 and 2008, the guide went to Tokyo, Hong Kong, and Macau. And the guide now covers 23 countries with 14 editions sold in 90 countries around the world. So I want to ask you a quick little trivia question.
Okay.
If you had to guess, what are the top 5 countries with the most Michelin-starred restaurants as of 2020?
France.
France is number 1 with 628 as of 2020.
Yeah, it's because it's there. Okay. Japan.
Number 2, 577.
Wow. Who else is known for their food? Spain.
Nope. Shocking.
The US.
US is number 5 with 169.
I'm missing 2 more.
2.
Italy.
Number 3 with 374. This is the shocking one to me.
What is it? England or the UK?
It's Germany, which to me is exactly
the
same.
Germany.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. And Germany's number 4 at 307.
No, Germany has better food than the UK. Sure,
but like, does Germany have better food than Spain? Does Germany have better food than the US? I'm not trying to shit on anybody, but like, I think of German food and I think about, we're going to talk about this a little bit, but the Michelin Guide is not as diverse and accepting as it may make you want to think it is. The United States is huge with a diverse food culture. Like literally every type of food you can imagine under the sun you can find in the United States. And we only have 169 stars, but Germany has 307.
Maybe they really like, brats.
They gotta like their brats. The Michelin Guide likes brats, people, and pretzels. You heard it here first. Okay, so how do you get a Michelin star? The Michelin Guide selects a number of restaurants in select locations to be inspected by an anonymous reviewer, and this is like a secret process. So this is like the general idea of what we know. After the inspector visits the selected restaurant, they write a comprehensive report, and they detail the total culinary experience. And the things that they look for are 1, the use of quality products, 2, mastery of flavor and cooking techniques, 3, personality of the chef in the cuisine, 4, value for your money, and 5, consistency of food. I think those are all good things to consider when you're reviewing a restaurant. The Michelin inspectors then meet together, they analyze all the reports, and then decide which restaurants are worthy of a star, 2, or 3 stars. And initial inspection visits happen around once every 18 months. So when I say initial inspection visits, I mean if your restaurant has no stars, you can expect that you would be visited anonymously with they don't tell you that they're coming, once every 18 months.
How do they decide which restaurant to go to? Because there's so many restaurants in the world.
That's a great question. You're asking good questions. Nobody knows how they select which restaurants to go to, and they don't tell you
it's very secretive.
Which restaurants they've ever been to and which restaurants they've gone to. So you and I could own a restaurant, and we could be incredible at what we do, and we could have a Michelin inspector in once every 18 months. Or we could have the entire time that our restaurant is open, never a Michelin inspector comes. And we would never know.
Then what's the point? Then why are we putting our blood, sweat, and tears into this thing?
You're asking the hard-hitting questions. Okay, so in instances where a restaurant is either going to get an additional star, so for instance, if you have 1 Michelin star already and you're potentially going to be boosted to 2 or 3, or in an instance where you're going to lose a star, inspection visits increase. So in the instance of a 1-star going up to 2, you would get 4 visits a year before you can gain your 2nd star. And then a 2-star location must be inspected on 10 occasions before it can get a 3rd star or lose its 2nd star. So that's what Michelin says. So what does it mean to get a star? To many, the Michelin Guide is considered the Bible. Okay, the be-all, end-all of important and influential restaurants. Restaurants that receive a star are filled with pride, they gain prestige, and usually get an increase in exposure and business. Like these restaurants, their sales increase exponentially, okay? But with fame comes like consequences, right? Like, because of this extremely high expectation of the rating system, there's a growing trend to reject Michelin stars around the world. Some restaurants even demand that their star be removed.
They can't handle it?
They can't handle it. And I don't blame them. Like, Michelin stars are so competitive. So competitive. And there are rumors that the judges, the inspectors, are not as unbiased as they lead you to believe that they are. Mm-hmm. People claim, like, in order to get your 1st star, you need to make sure that you have cloth napkins in your bathroom as opposed to like paper napkins. Like things like the minutia, or like that you have to, when you place the plate down, it has to be a perfect inch from the edge of the table.
Or so it's not just on food.
It's not just on food. They say that none of these things are included in their inspector's review, but inspectors are people, which means they're inherently biased. And so there's things that these people are looking for that they might not even realize that they're looking for. Another chef complained that because they didn't have like diffusers in their bathroom, they didn't get their star. And like, of course, there are going to be chefs that are like, you know, like they have their egos bruised because they didn't get a star throughout their career. Yeah. But there's other times when like there are incredible chefs that are like literally sweating blood, sweat, and tears every single day to maintain their star, because if you lose your star, your business could very well go under, because that's how important foodies and gourmands take the guide. Like, you know, the rating 1 is exceptional in its category, 2 is worth a detour, and 3 is worth a special journey. Like, people book entire vacations around which 3 Michelin star restaurant they're going to eat at. I mean, it's part of
handle the pressure.
Right. So you can understand why some chefs would be like, no, I don't want your stars.
Yeah.
In 2017, French chef Sébastien Brasse requested to be left out of the next edition of the guide, blaming the unrelenting pressure on maintaining a fine dining kitchen. In 2019, Swedish cook Magnus Nilsson shuttered his 2 Michelin star eatery Fäviken, citing tiredness and plans to dedicate more time to his family. Actually, this devastated me because Fäviken was the one restaurant that I wanted to go to, and I had dreamed of going to Sweden to eat at Fäviken. It is no longer. Thank you, Michelin Guide.
He wants to spend time with his family.
I know. Respect that. I really do respect that, but I wanted to eat there. I have his cookbook, though, so it's fine. In 2019, Korean chef Woo Young-gwan sued Michelin for including his restaurant in the guide on the grounds that he had told them not to. He told CNN in 2019, quote, "Michelin Guide is a cruel system. It's the cruelest test in the world. It forces the chefs to work around a year waiting for a test, and they don't even know when it's coming." End quote. It's true. Like, you don't know when the guide is coming. You don't know if they're ever coming. You don't know if they've already been there. Yeah. You don't know what night it's going to be. So if your server having an off night, that could mean that you're not getting your star that year, or that you're getting a star removed.
Well, it's annoying that it's every 18 months too. Like, if it was a surprise visit, but they come like every month when they're in like the first year or something, or they come more frequently. So it's like, okay, if we have one off night, like maybe the next one will be better. But
right, exactly. You have like one opportunity. Anyway, so why are people demanding that they have their stars removed or rejecting the stars outright? Many accusations have been leveled at Michelin throughout the years. The accusations: 1, that the awards are actually damaging to restaurants. So it causes them to narrow their creativity to obtain stars and stop them from innovating once they have them. So people assume that there's these very secret, strict rules that the Michelin Guide follows in order for you to be considered a Michelin restaurant, which then, like, because the guide is so important, restaurants start striving to meet the guide rather than striving for their own creative purposes or the purposes of the chef. And so it can be really restrictive to like innovation and creativity within their field. Accusation number 2, how can a single organization possibly cover and inspect that many restaurants? You ask this question too. You're like, well, how do they select the restaurants? Nobody knows how they select the restaurants. How many restaurants are in Chicago alone? And then let's just say the Michelin Guide was going to cover every single restaurant in Chicago. How does the Michelin Guide have that much money and that much manpower to send inspectors to cover every single restaurant in Chicago? And Chicago is not the only city that exists. We got LA, we got New York, we got all the coastal cities in California, Texas. Then we got, all the places in France, Germany, all of Europe, Asia.
Conspiracy. There's an underground ring going around.
Right?
Bribery.
Okay. Well, there's that. And then, accusation number 3 is that the Michelin Guide is too French. And that it passes its judgment on food from other cultures in a questionable manner. Mm-hmm. So that one of those like secret things that people think about the guide is that like your food really has to kind of align with the French notion of good cuisine. Mm-hmm. And so other cultures that don't fit in the idea of like French cuisine baffles the guide. And so they don't even make it onto the guide, even though their food is just as good, if not better in some cases. Mm-hmm. Here's a quote. Michelin has expanded to cover a wide scene, but many still argue that in doing so, it has created a single homogeneous global pattern. In spite of honoring local ingredients, the food at Michelin restaurants still looks like Michelin food, which is to mean very French. And to kind of punctuate this, there is no Michelin Guide in India. So the guide isn't in India. And you're going to tell me that there isn't, quote unquote, 3 Michelin star restaurants in India, 2 Michelin stars, 1. There isn't a single starred restaurant in India because the guide isn't there.
No, don't believe it.
That's bonkers to me.
Yeah. That's telling.
It is.
Especially Indian food is like so good and enjoyed.
Exactly.
Around the world. It's like one of the most popular.
It's revolutionary too. Like,
yeah. They're
incredible chefs in India, and you're going to tell me that you're not going to send the guide there? Weird. People travel to India for the food. Mm-hmm. Like, anyway, according to Rebecca Burr, director of the Michelin Guide in Great Britain and Northern Ireland, quote, running a successful restaurant is tough, and we absolutely appreciate that. So we have never encouraged chefs or restaurants to obsess over gaining or retaining Michelin stars. It's entirely up to them what sort of experience they want to give their customers and how they run their business. She goes on to concede that Michelin stars carry power in the industry to transform a restaurant's fortune. But, quote, it's entirely possible to run an extremely profitable restaurant without having a Michelin star, end quote. It's like you realize you are like the orchestrator. You like sway public opinion. I'm going to end on a quote from an article called Michelin, Get Out of the Kitchen by A.A. Gill on Vanity Fair. Quote, and though it, Michelin Guide, claims that its standards are universal and unimpeachable, it proves how francophile and bloated and snobbish the whole business really is. And that, far from being a lingua franca, the food on our plate is as varied as any other aspect of a national culture. For instance, Italy has absurdly few 3-star restaurants, apparently because the criteria of complexity and presentation aren't up to Michelin's Guide, which is French standards. And the marvelously rich and varied curries of India plainly seem to baffle the guide. The city with the most stars is Tokyo, but then many of its restaurants have barely a handful of chairs, and most benefit from the Gaelic reverence for OCD saucing and solitary boys' knife skills. In both London and New York, the guide appears to be wholly out of touch with the way people actually eat, still being most comfortable rewarding fat, conservative, fussy rooms that use expensive ingredients with ingratiating pomp to serve glossy plutocrats and their speechless rental dates. End quote.
Wow.
Holy heck in a hen basket. So there's
they didn't have to
animosity.
Throw in the thing about escorts, but
they didn't have to, but they did, and I read it. You can see that there is some saltiness at the table with Michelin Guide. I do have to say that I use the guide to find restaurants. Like the Bib Gourmand specifically is a really great tool to find just like local good cuisine. Mm-hmm. That being said, to eat at a 3 Michelin star restaurant is a dream of mine, but it's essentially unobtainable because to let's say Alinea in Chicago. I believe at one point, I don't know what the cost is now. I don't know if they're actually open in the dining room, but Alinea was $250 a person to go there. Plus you'd have to pay for drinks. So it would be like $500 to have the drink tasting as well. And like, it's all of this is fixed prices. So it's not like you go in and you're like, oh, I want to order a water and like this entree and that dessert. No, you're getting, it's like prefixed menus. So they're 18 courses. You don't get to pick anything and the chef brings it all out, which sounds like a really cool and exciting experience to just kind of trust in a chef like that. But how am I ever going to afford something like that? You know? I have eaten at like 1-star restaurants and even those are too expensive for me, but they're good. But it's like an unobtainable dream, but at the same time, it's like, should I care that much?
Yeah. They want you to think that you should spend $1,000 on one meal.
Exactly. Anyway, so that's the Michelin Guide.
That's it, folks.
That's it.
I'm very hungry now. I feel like my stomach has been rumbling. So sorry if that picks up.
That's okay. I really want curry now. So
I know there is an Indian restaurant by my house I didn't realize was here because we used to get Indian at work occasionally.
Yes.
So we worked kind of by an Indian restaurant that had a really nice lunch buffet. Yeah. So maybe Indian food for lunch tonight or today.
Okay.
Anything could happen.
Anything could happen. I'm starving too. I'm going to finish chugging this coffee and then I'm going to hop right into work because it is work time now, folks.
Oh, yeah. I guess you have to go to work.
We got to go to work.
Just like old times.
This is like the old times. We'd be sitting in the VO booth and you'd hear people walking past the VO booth chattering and talking and stuff like that. And we'd be like, I guess we should get out of here and go to work.
We knew our time was up.
Yep.
Thanks for listening. If you want to talk to us, find us on Twitter at The Good Eve Girls.
Or Instagram at The Good Evening Girls.
Or TikTok at The Good Eve Girls.
Come say hey.
And remember, keep curious.
Yes, keep your mind open. And we'll see you next week, folks. Have a great weekend. Have a great week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.